Grill Sergeant here. What's going on, Grill Billies? Today we're doing brisket on the Brunswick. So let's fire this bad boy up and let's start the show. All right guys, you voted in the community tab, and the first thing we're gonna cook on this Brunswick is a brisket. Now, if you've never done a brisket before, I'm gonna take you from start to finish on how to trim, how to prepare, how to prep, how to season. For pellets, I'm gonna be using a 50-50 mix of Pit Boss's charcoal pellets mixed with Pit Boss's competition blend pellets. Let's turn this bad boy on. So we're gonna open the doors and we are going to turn it on, and it's gonna start in the smoke setting. Once you start seeing smoke, you can pretty much just close the doors, and then from there you can set the temperature you want. But definitely when you're starting up the Pit Boss, doors open. All right, now that the smoker's heated up, I'm gonna close those doors. Whoop. And I'm just gonna open up the stack about halfway. Now let's go over what we're gonna need to do brisket. You're gonna need brisket. This is prime grade, a sharp knife. You're gonna need butcher paper. Now, as far as seasonings go, I'm gonna be using two. This one is Pit Boss's Java Chop House. And then I'm also going to be using Pit Boss's Smoked Hickory and Honey Sea Salt. I'm also gonna be using beef broth and injector. For your spritzer, it's basically just to keep your brisket moist. I'm gonna be using apple juice. So let's dive in. All right, let's cut this bad boy open. Ugh. So when it comes to trimming your brisket, you want to take off, you have very, very hard pieces of fat that actually aren't going to render out. And so we're basically going to just trim, and how lightly you trim, it's up to you. I'll show you how I prepare it though. So here is our fat mountain. So now what we're gonna do is we are going to inject it with beef broth. And I'm gonna pour it in here. And what I like doing is basically taking a little rub that I'm going to be putting on the outside of the brisket. So I'm gonna add a little rub to this mixture, and I'm gonna come in here and add a little of that sea salt. Take our injector and swirl that up. All right, so basically we're just going to put this in, whoop, and then just squeeze, and you're going to see the brisket start plumping up. So this part, beautiful. And then especially into this part, because you're gonna start seeing it peep. Hello. Because normally in a brisket, this part is going to be what really dries out. And so this gives it just an extra chance to stay nice and hydrated. All right, now we're gonna come in here. As much as we can, we are going to pat our brisket dry. And now we're gonna take that Java Chop House, and we're just gonna start at one side and just start coating this brisket in this goodness. I'm just gonna pat it in. Beautiful, now we're gonna flip it over. And coat the other side. And now we're gonna set the smoker to about 230, and we're gonna fill up the water pan. All right, let's get our meat on the grill. With the Pro Series 4, I'd have to kind of like scrunch up the brisket just to make sure that it wasn't touching the sides. but this looks like it is going in well. And then this probe comes out the side. And what we're gonna do, come in, and then stick it right there. What you're looking for is basically to get that probe into the center of the brisket. And now we close down the hatch. So we'll close this one first, close this up. Boom. Now that the brisket's on, we're gonna set it to 230. I'm a little too lazy to actually turn that dial, so I'm gonna whip out that app and we are going to turn it up to 230 straight from the app. And then the cool thing is, look at that. You're already seeing it display on there. And I'm also checking out our briskets at an internal 48 degrees right now. We got a long road to go till we hit 205. A long road. When that internal temperature hits about 165, 170, we're gonna wrap it up in butcher paper and then put it back on. So when you wrap your brisket, you're actually helping it trap all that heat, and so instead of it being lost, it actually helps heat up the brisket and then get over that stall. And now it's time for my favorite part, cracking open a cold one and letting the smoker do the heavy lifting. Cheers. Hey, if you're new to the channel, I'd encourage you to hit that subscribe and like button. We're just basically a community-based barbecue group, and man, oh man, I'd love it if you'd join us along. Now, for the first 2 hours, I'm not going to touch the brisket, just gonna let it do its thing. You really don't wanna open the doors up at all, just because you want all that nice smoke just basically marrying up with the actual brisket itself. So keep the doors closed, and in about 2 hours from now, then we're just gonna start lightly spritzing it down. You don't wanna go too crazy with it, because what you're trying to do is having the rub bind with the brisket itself. So we'll check back in about 2 hours. All right guys, we are at the 2 hour mark. Let's go check on this bad boy. I put a probe temperature at grate level, so we're looking at right where that brisket is at. We are hovering around the 225, and the internal temp for the probe is almost 100. So we are making some good progress here. Let's open her up and check her out. Beautiful. And you can kind of feel right now that the actual rub doesn't feel wet or sticky anymore. So you can tell that the rub is binding with the meat. That is a very good sign. Let me add some water in. Didn't go down too much after 2 hours, which is pretty cool. We got our little apple juice mix here, and we are just going to just lightly get in there. So let's push her back in. All right, let's close her up. Man, the color on that brisket is looking beautiful. So good. So what I'm gonna do now is spritz the brisket probably every hour, and then right when the brisket hits 165, I'm gonna wrap it, and that's when we'll tune back in, all right? Let's fast forward. All right, the brisket just hit an internal temperature of 165. So now what you're gonna wanna do is get some heavy duty gloves on. You're gonna wanna lay out some butcher paper, and we're gonna put the brisket right on top so we can wrap it up. Oh. Whew. Look at that. So now what I'm going to do is spritz it down, is wrap her up. And now you basically put her back in the smoker, stick a probe back in her, and when she reads 205, she's ready to pull. Now we just gotta wait till 205. It's a little after 4:30 in the morning, and the brisket is finally done. So the main key right now is letting the brisket rest. So what you're gonna need is some towels and then a cooler. So open up your cooler, take a towel, put this on the bottom. Got my heavy duty gloves on. And we are going to keep it wrapped in the butcher paper because we want to cover and insulate this brisket as much as we can. I'm going to turn off the grill. Thank you for your service. All right, she is all bundled up. We're going to place her in the cooler, and now I'm going to bring her inside. Again, we are going to let her rest for about 5 to 6 hours. I'm going to go back to sleep. See you in a few. It's pretty trippy to think that we were just putting on the brisket 24 hours ago. A brisket this size is not for the faint of heart, but I believe in you. You got this. After we slice in and carve in at the end of this video, if you actually are clicking on this video because you want to see more specs on the Brunswick, I will go in, we'll take a look at the smoker, what happened on the inside after we smoked a brisket. Let us get this out of the cooler. So funny, the wife was like, where did all our towels go? I'm like, I don't know, maybe they're in the washer. All right, here is our brisket. All right, let's open her up. Oh, look at that. So let's see how we did. Oh yeah, oh, beautiful. Oh my gosh. Man, look at that juice in there. We gotta come in here and do a taste test right now. Wow, so good. It just melts in your mouth. All right, I'm gonna bring this inside, feed the family. I'm gonna take the point and I'm gonna make what's called brisket burnt ends. So I will post that in another video. Thank you guys for watching. Now that we got the brisket out of the way, let's check out the smoker. All right, so first off, no malfunctions, no issues, nothing. Let's look on the inside of the smoker. And this is what I was really interested about, because say on the Pro Series 4, all these, you know, drippings and all that goodness that is on top of this deflector would normally go into the water pan. So now what I'm going to do is pull out the water pan, and for the most part, this water pan is pretty much good to go. If you have the Pro Series 4, you know what I'm talking about. This did its job. Now let's go check out the grease trap in the back. And boom, inside here, that is our, so all of this on the Pro Series 4 would have been in the water pan. All right, now let's look at the ash cleanout tray. Boom. All right, guys, well, that wraps it up for today's episode. Thank you for sticking around. If you have any questions, do feel free to leave a comment. Also in the description is a link to our Facebook group that we started, and that is just an awesome, fun community on there. So do check that out. Other than that, I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, guys? Grill Sergeant out. Cheers.